On a beautiful Tuesday evening in New York City, fans getting ready for the final home series for Mariano Rivera. Honored on Sunday, number retired, and now the Tampa Bay Rays are in town. They might get some mo. It's time for baseball as My Nine presents New York Yankees baseball. It's the Tampa Bay Rays against the New York Yankees in the first of three from Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, New York. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Yankees baseball. Along with Ken Singleton, I'm Michael Kay. Yankees won the first two games of that Giant series, but the Sunday loss really might have taken the starch out of them. Mathematically still alive, but all kind of crazy things have to happen in order for them to get a postseason berth. So let's take a look at this game. Take a look at the pitching matchup. It's brought to you by Mazda. We believe if it's not worth driving, it's not worth building. Matt Moore is going to go for Tampa Bay, and for the Yankees, it's Kuroda. And Kenny Kuroda, last 10, 12 starts, just has not been the same pitcher.
Yeah, he was the Yankees' best pitcher in the first half of the season, but there's been a common theme in the second half. He has struggled early in ball games. This is a start in Toronto where the Blue Jays scored early and often, and then he settles down. Now, he gave the Yankees some distance in this game, but the Yankees went on to lose it by a score of 6-2, as Kuroda has only had one win since August of 12.
Look at these numbers. First 22 games, you could argue one of the best pitchers in baseball at 10-6, 2.38. But in the last 9, opponents hitting .303 against him. One win since July 25th, 1-6 with a 5.14 in his last 9. Not very good. He has to step up tonight. He has to step up against a Rays team that has turned it around the beginning of the month. Not too good, but lately very good. We'll explain why next, right here on My Nine. Nine of those games and scored 1.3 runs more per game. So that's meant a big deal for them. Back to the booth, that's Ken Singleton. I'm Michael Kay. As I mentioned, they opened the doors for a lot of teams, but then they shut them closed. How'd they do it?
Well, they've been doing it primarily with their pitching. Matt Moore is pitching tonight. He's having a great year. He's 15-4. Also, they've been getting the big hit when they've really needed it. They've got 13 walk-off victories down at Tropicana Field this year. That's the most in the American League. They had one yesterday against Baltimore. James Loney with a walk-off home run that beat Baltimore.
Pretty amazing. So now the Yankees trying to stay alive. They're tragic number 3. They have 3 games remaining with the Tampa Bay Rays. 3 of the final games at the ballpark here in the Bronx. Lineups, first pitch, baseball, right here on My Nine. American Airlines, the new American is arriving. And by Kia. To learn more, visit kia.com. A little bit of an autumnal chill in the air here at Yankee Stadium, beginning of the final regular season home series, Yankees against the Tampa Bay Rays. Kuroda is on the mound, so why don't we take a look at the Tampa Bay Rays starting lineup, brought to you by your local Acura dealer. Matt Joyce is going to lead off. He's the DH. Playing in right field, it's going to be Will Myers. David DeJesus in left field will bat third. The cleanup hitter is at third base, Evan Longoria. At second base, it's Ben Zobrist. James Loney at first base will bat sixth. Batting seventh and catching, Jose Lobaton. Sam Folt is going to play in center field. He'll bat eighth. And batting ninth and playing shortstop, Yunel Escobar.
The veteran Hiroki Kuroda will be doing the pitching for the Yankees tonight, the opening game of this 3-game series against the Rays. He's made only one start against the Rays this year, and he lost that one. That was at Tropicana Field on August 23rd. You can see his overall record. One game under 500, 11-12. Good earned run average, 3.17. Let's take a look at the Yankees pitcher scatter report, brought to you by Infiniti, luxury cars that deliver inspired performance. His last win was August the 12th here at Yankee Stadium against the Los Angeles Dodgers, his former team. You can see his ERA in September has climbed to 5.18, and he's pitched over 1,000 innings in the major leagues. There's only 7 active pitchers who have done that without giving up a grand slam home run. So when the bases get loaded, he gets tough.
Well, the Yankees, as we mentioned, need to have so many things go right for them to grab one of the 2 wild cards. It's highly unlikely, but still mathematically possible. And as long as there's hope, well, the Yankees have to play these games as if they are must-wins.
Well, I said he beat the Dodgers. He actually beat the Angels. It was one of those LA teams.
And Matt Joyce digs in. Hiroki Kuroda is set. And let's do it here in the Bronx. First pitch, foul back. We're underway. Rays have a 4-game winning streak. This season, they are 9-7 against the Yankees. And a team really not known for scoring a lot of runs. The Rays have out-homered the Yankees this year, 21-8.
Yeah, that 4-game winning streak, all those wins came against Baltimore. They kind of knocked them out of the wild card race. Joe Maddon's team, tough at home. They had 2 walk-off victories, including an 18-inning game in which the Rays beat the Orioles.
That one is driven to right field and deep. Going back, Wells on the track at the wall. See ya. Home run for Joyce. And just like that, the Rays are up 1-0.
Well, Matt Joyce has been struggling big time. He hit .350 in August. Coming into this at bat, he was 3 for 41 in September. And he gets the Rays out in front with a leadoff home run. It's 1-0 Tampa Bay.
It is amazing. And Kenny mentioned this, and you'll see that Joyce just drilled a pitch that hung out over the plate. How much Kuroda has struggled in the first inning. And what he does is he usually works his way out of it without having himself taken out of the game, but he builds up such a high pitch count that he robs himself of later innings. And there's a base hit by Will Myers, the rookie. So a home run and a single. And a good beginning for Tampa Bay.
Well, you know Matt Joyce has to feel good because I mentioned the fact 3 for 41 in September, not closing the season the way he wanted to.
"21 first inning runs in 32 starts this season, and that includes the home run by Joyce. It's almost in the second half of the season, if he's searching for something, what works on that night, and it's taking him most of the first inning. Here's David DeJesus, and he bunts foul.
Had a chance to talk to David DeJesus briefly near the Rays clubhouse before the game, and you know, a young man born in Brooklyn, went to Rutgers. Very happy to be with the Rays. 11 years in the major leagues. He's never been to the postseason. So he sees this as his first opportunity to get into meaningful baseball in October.
The 0-1.
And like Matt Joyce, DeJesus was leading off on Sunday against Baltimore and had 10 pitch at bat. On the 10th pitch, he had a home run to put the Rays out in front 1-0.
Looks like he brought a brand new bat up to the plate.
Right out of the box.
A lot of shine on that one.
Was a hit on the 18-inning game. DeJesus with the hit that gave the Rays the win over Baltimore. He's kind of happy. That was almost a 7-hour ball game.
There's a line drive, base hit down the right field line. Myers will go to third. DeJesus is at second and waving Myers home. Here's the throw. He's in there. Moving to third is DeJesus. He's in there, and it's 2-0 Rays.
Well, Tom Foley, the third base coach, did not hesitate with Myers. He sends him home, and on the throw to home, DeJesus continues on to third. It's a good base running on his part. First of all, the pitch is right down the middle. And, you know, they just got through facing that in batting practice. He scorches it into the corner. Vernon Wells gets it back in. Cano's throw is going to come to the plate. Myers scores standing up. The ball gets away from Stewart, but even so, DeJesus was on his way to third.
Well, the Yankees in the first inning bring the infield in against Evan Longoria. 23 home runs lifetime against the Yankees. And he has 7 this year.
And in each of his last 3 games against the Yankees, he's hit a homer.
Two and 0.
That was down at Tropicana Field. 29 homers. He's among the in the top 10 in the American League in that category. But of late, he's kind of been struggling, Michael. He's 3 for his last 26. Well, that's what he's done against the Yankees this year.
High fly ball. Vernon Wells will make the catch. Tagging is DeJesus. And the throw is cut off by Reynolds. A sac fly for Longoria. And it's 3-0 Tampa Bay. So they finally get an out. But that brings in a run.
Well, you got to give DeJesus a pat on the back. Joe Madden should do so for just advancing to third on the throw to the play with some heads-up base running. That, you know, the Rays are known for doing the little things. They're very good defensively again this year. They weren't last year, which is kind of surprising.
Here's Ben Zobrist. And there's a strike. Count 0-2. Tim Timmons, the home plate umpire, in good voice.
You know, you think of Kuroda's struggles early in ball games. Maybe think about altering the way you warm up to come into a game. Maybe throw a few more pitches or a few less, one or the other.
Kenny, I wonder if it's as simple as that he's just exhausted.
No, that could be it too. I mean, well, last year he threw the most innings he's ever thrown. But right now, what he's doing is, well, he's only thrown 14 pitches. So the Rays have scored with 3 runs already, and he's only thrown 14 pitches. So that means that not many of them have been very good.
And he gets Zobrist for the second out. Tonight's closed captioning is brought to you by Lexus, introducing a car designed with one purpose: to stand apart. The all-new 2014 Lexus IS. It's your move. So here's James Loney. He ended the game yesterday against the Orioles with a walk-off home run.
Not only was it a walk-off, it was a pinch hit walk-off homer. Loney's had 8 pinch hit at bats this year and has had 4 hits. He's been pretty good off the bench.
Swing and a miss. So Kuroda gets the final 3 Rays, but not before they put a 3 spot on the board. And it started with a home run off the bat of Matt Joyce. Rays 3, Yankees coming to bat. He'll face this Yankees starting lineup, which is brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. The center fielder, Ichiro Suzuki, will lead off. Batting second, the DH, Alex Rodriguez. Robinson Cano, the second baseman, hits third. Cleaning up, left fielder Alfonso Soriano. Mark Reynolds at first base will bat fifth. Batting sixth, playing third base, Eduardo Nunez. Vernon Wells in right field will bat seventh. The number 8 hitter is the shortstop, Brendan Ryan, and Chris Stewart will catch in. He'll bat ninth.
There's Matt Moore, just 24 years old, 4-2 against the Yankees in his career, including 2-0 this year with 2 no decisions. This will be his 26th start. See his record, excellent, 15-4. Good numbers all the way across, less than a hit per inning. Strikeouts, almost a strikeout per inning. Opponent's inning just 215. It's time for the Rays Pitcher Scatter Report, brought to you by Lexus, introducing a car designed with one purpose: to stand apart. The all-new 2014 Lexus IS. It's your move. He's the youngest Ray pitcher at 24 years old ever to get the 15 wins in a season. His first start came right here at Yankee Stadium back on September 22nd, 2011, a little more than 2 years ago. And he's a road warrior this year. 8-1 away from Tropicana Field. He's having himself an excellent year.
Team is 19-6 in his 25 starts. So here's Ichiro. And a strike. Popped up. Sounds like a broken bat. Loney for the first out. New York Yankees baseball is broadcast in Spanish. It's available by hitting the SAP button on your remote. SAP is brought to you by Toyota. See where Toyota takes you. Test drive one at your Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places. Here's A-Rod. Just 2 hits in his last 23 at-bats. But one of those hits a grand slam that won the game for the Yankees on Friday against the Giants.
Was that the one that set the all-time record?
CC will not make a start the rest of the year with his grade 2 hamstring pull. At a press conference today, said he'll be back and be better than he was this year, next year. And Andy Pettitte was announced that he will make his final start of his career Friday in Houston. The 1-2.
Well, think about CeCe with the hamstring strain that he had against the Giants. He got that in the second inning and continued to pitch.
Well, Joe Girardi said he was shocked. He had no idea. He had no idea. I guess he found out Sunday or yesterday. And CeCe will not make a start this week. The 2-2.
And I'll tell you what, Andy pitched a heck of a game on Sunday. Well, you can see he was pitching his heart out, as he always has, for the fans here at the stadium, knowing that it would be the last time this particular day on Sunday.
The 3-2. And A-Rod works a walk. Andy was dealing early, flirting with a perfect game and a no-hitter. And he looked great.
Yeah, he did. Cutter was cutting, which it has been for most of his last 5 or 6 starts. And there's that final wave to a full house. And the hug from the captain. Go back out there one more time. The all-time strikeout leader for the New York Yankees.
His family was here on Sunday. His mom and dad, his mother-in-law, his kids, and they were all very emotional. He had a press conference after the game. And Cano slashes one the other way.
They called no pitch. Home plate umpire Tim Timmons.
I think it was Cano that called time.
It might have been.
And he still has a line drive.
There is no count. Scoreboard has 0-1 on the foul ball.
Yeah. He didn't raise his hand. You could hear him say timeout, timeout. Now Timmons does not have to give him timeout.
No, he doesn't, but he did on that particular instance. And, you know, and it's getting more and more where the umpires won't grant time. They're trying to move the games along. I'm talking to Kevin Long, the Yankee hitting coach, before the game about Cano and the way he's been hitting the ball hard to the opposite field lately, particularly against left-handed pitching. And remember last year, Cano struggled against lefties. This year, he's hitting .293 against left-handed pitching, much better than he did last year. And he's up to close to .330 against right-handers.
.314 overall. Count 0-2.
Matt Moore featuring a changeup like most of these Rays starters do, and That's a pitch that they want you to perfect in the minor leagues before they bring you up to the big leagues. And Moore has a good one. Jeremy Hellickson has an excellent changeup. And both of them are products of the Rays farm system. There's Jim Hickey in between David Price on the left there and Joe Madden. Jim Hickey, the pitching coach. He's got some good arms to work with, including the young man just to his right.
Chop to second. There's one. No return for him. So two-way. And that'll bring up Soriano.
Sorry was putting on a show in batting practice. I was standing behind the cage, and he was just hitting line drive after line drive, right, center, left. It's not always an indication of when you're going to have a good game, but it shows that you've got the right swing path most of the time. I mentioned that Matt Moore made 4 previous starts against the Yankees. He made one here on July 28th and got a no decision. But after that game, he went on the DL. He was having elbow issues. And the Rays made him take his time before he was able to come back. And he's been pitching well here in September, though he lost his last start against Texas.
This is what he's done against the Yankees. 2-0 in 4 starts. Two and one.
Another changeup. A lot of off-speed pitches in this inning.
The entire right side of the infield open for Soriano as Loney holds on Cano. And that one gets away from Lobaton. As Cano moves to second on the wild pitch.
Matt Moore, that's another wild pitch. He's had one in each of his last 7 games now. That's the longest in Rays history.
Three one. Fastball upstairs, right by Soriano with the count 3-2. And the pitch. So that's a walk to Soriano. That's going to bring up Mark Reynolds. Reynolds got the Yankees their only run on Sunday with a home run. Yankees had opportunities late to tie the game. They had second and third and nobody out. Couldn't get a run home. Some shoddy base running by pinch runner Zoilo Almonte. Couldn't get the big hit. But Reynolds' home run into the visiting bullpen was the only run they scored. Gets one of those right now. You have a tie ball game. It's 3-0 Tampa Bay, bottom of the first. One and 0.
Gonna get a look at that homer. Off the Zoo York side. The back of the bullpen in left center.
One and one.
Matt Moore will chase at least a 20-pitch inning here in the first.
First and second with 2 outs. It's 3-0 Rays. And the 1-1. 1-2. Two guys on the DL. Derek Jeter, Jason Nix.
Well, Nix has the cast off his hand, though. His broken hand.
And the 1-2. Swing and a miss. Reynolds down on strikes. Tagged out by Lobaton. No runs, no hits, no errors, and 2 men left on base. We go to the second. With Homer and Bart for a full hour every weeknight at 6:30, and starting next Thursday, catch 2 more bonus blockbuster hours in prime time. Every Thursday night at 8, The Simpsons. Weeknights at 6:30 and starting next Thursday at 8 on My 9. $3-0 Rays. Brought to you on the Time Warner Cable scoreboard. Enjoy all the things you love better. Call Time Warner Cable 1-855-WANT-TWC. So let's see if Kuroda finds himself as he deals outside to Lobaton. Faced the bottom third of the Rays order. Gave up 3 runs in the first. And the count 2-0. Lobaton 258, 7 homers and 30 runs batted in. Count 2-1.
Kuroda can keep the pitches right where that last one was. He'll be just fine. Knee high, outside corner, and moving away. Tried it again and missed.
And the pitch. Driven out to center. Ichiro drifts back in left center. He'll make the play for the first out.
We talked about early problems in ball games for Kuroda, and it was a start down at Tampa Bay back on August the 23rd, which Lobaton hit a 3-run homer off him in the second inning to get the Rays off and started on their way to a 7-2 win. That was the night Kuroda gave up several homers.
Sam Fuld fouls it back.
Gave him a homer to Loberton, Longoria, Joyce, and Zobrist. Sam Fuld at center field tonight. The usual center fielder Desmond Jennings having hamstring issues, so he is sitting this one out. Versatile Fuld in center field.
Nice play there by Nunez. Gets to his feet, fires, and he's been playing a lot better at third base. Making some nice plays, and that brings a smile to his face.
On to the backhand, one step and a dive. Looked like this might be a double down the left field line, and Nunez had other ideas. That's part of the play. Now the other part. Quickly to his feet. The throw is on the money to Mark Reynolds for out number 2. Here's another look at it. Oh, nice dive. Up with it quickly. Unloads, and he gets full by about 2 or 3 steps.
Yunel Escobar with a 1-0 count.
Just think that, do you think that Nunez just getting more familiar with third base? Or?
I think so. Remember, they had exclusively kept him at shortstop all year. They did not want to mess him at third, but the injury to A-Rod and then the slump by Overbay kind of preempted them from moving Reynolds at third. So last gasp, let's work out Nunez at third. He's done a good job.
And plus the acquisition of Ryan, who is kind of a wizard at shortstop. And his reputation kind of preceded him. They knew they were getting a good fielding shortstop. We haven't seen him much. You go to Seattle, maybe he's in the lineup for a day or two. But man, he can pick it. Quick release, strong arm.
He was so prominent in that Yankee dugout during the Mo ceremonies. And you watch the replay, he's there. He's like, he's staring at everything and taking it all in. And, you know, he hasn't been here for an old timer's day as a Yankee, so that's as close as he can come. And it seemed like he really enjoyed it. The 1-2. Swing and a miss. Nice bounce back inning for Kuroda as against the Rays down in order. We're going to go to the bottom of the second. It's 3-0 Tampa Bay. Troy, how should the city of New York honor Mariano Rivera's retirement? Should they, A, put up signs on 42nd Street, Should they name an avenue, expressway, or park after him? Should they C, erect a statue, or D, show his last game in Times Square? Text A, B, C, or D to 70377 or go to my9nj.com. Find out the results later in the game wrap-up. It's What's Your Take, brought to you by Chrysler, imported from Detroit. Well, that's how the Yankees have been honoring him. The bases have number 42. The field has number 42 painted on each side.
That's a good question. How should they honor Mariano?
Chop to second. Zobrist gets Nunez.
How about one of the bridges over from Manhattan to the Bronx? They got the Clemente Bridge in Pittsburgh.
Well, you'd have to have one that has a lot of traffic because it's, he could close it. Or maybe 9th Avenue or 42nd Street.
Yeah. They're always talking about the bridge to Mariano.
Time Warner Cable scoreboard, 3-0 Tampa Bay. I think Mo knows he's been honored plenty by all the teams the Yankees have played. The Yankees with a magnificent ceremony for him on Sunday. It's been well deserved and really very much enjoyed by him. The 1-0. Vernon Wells wraps one to center field. And Fold makes the play for the second out.
Yeah, it was a magnificent ceremony. You and John did a great job emceeing. And as you were introducing his former teammates, I'm watching these guys. I don't want to go into every single name because I'll forget some, but they're all the great Yankees from the late 90s and early 2000s. And it kind of represented what those teams were able to do. And I began to think, Michael and I have done most of those games, and I just began to think how fortunate I've been, and we've been to broadcast Yankee baseball on Yes during those days. And wow,
that was a special team.
Yeah, it was.
And you were there right from the beginning when you were broadcasting for MSG as well.
Back in
and I was on the radio side.
98.
1-0 on Brendan Ryan.
I was talking to Brendan before the game near the batting cage, and I said to him, I hear you're a big Los Angeles Clippers fan. He says, season ticket holder. I said, I got it in with the coach.
Did he have any idea?
He had no clue.
The coach of the Clippers is
I explained that
Kenny's cousin, Doc Rivers.
Yeah, that he's the coach. And he said, well, I don't sit too far back. I said, well, if you see him, tell him I said hi.
See, now you can freely admit the relationship between you and Doc now. When he was a Celtic coach in New York, you had to keep it quiet.
I wasn't afraid to say that. I'll tell you one thing. I'm going to have to stay up later and watch basketball games this winter.
He's got a good team.
Yeah, he does.
Here's a 3-1. And Ryan works a walk. A lot of people talking about the ceremony on Sunday. Mo with his number retired, and then Metallica with a live version of Enter Sandman, and the long walk by Mo, and the big smile, and his former teammates taking video pictures, the rocking chair. And then he gave a great speech as well. Impromptu and from the heart.
Special man. Let alone a special pitcher.
Tells you what type of guy he is. You know what he said today to the media? He said, I went home, I talked to my wife, and I said I was happy with everything that went on, but I was very angry that I forgot to thank one group of people, and I wanted to thank the media because they've been so good to me. And it's not that often that an athlete's going to want to thank the media, but that's the way Mariano's built.
We should be thanking him. For all the thrills. I mean, when you hear Enter Sandman play here at the stadium, he kind of knew it was time to reach for the car keys. He was going to get the game over with.
The difference, really? Ooh, another wild pitch. That was like a lawn dart. As Ryan moves to second.
Well, you mentioned Moore's thrown a wild pitch in 7 straight games now. That is a Rays franchise record. He's got 2 tonight. Now the last pitcher with a streak longer than that, Ricky Rivera, another left-hander, kind of struggled 8 games in a row with a wild pitch. And Rivero's trying to work his way. He spent most of the year in the minor leagues with the Blue Jays. And a few years ago, he's an all-star pitcher.
His stock has fallen so much when the Yankees were in Toronto last week. He actually came out to catch the first pitch from comedian Sarah Silverman. Usually don't ask a starting pitcher to do that.
You're not joking, are you?
No.
Neither was Sarah, huh?
Sarah was great. She actually threw the ball very well, but rarely do you see a former opening day starter.
Exactly.
It's been a long drop for Ricky Rivera. So Ryan leads off second, 2 men out, bottom of the second. It's 3-0 Tampa Bay. And Moore deals. 3-2.
Now, earlier in the season, when Moore made a start against the Yankees, we noted that he had a very low percentage of first pitch strikes. But even so, his record's 15-4. That tells you he's probably getting decent run support.
Strike 3. Stewart was headed toward first. He could not believe it. But he wants that call for Kuroda, so doesn't really say much to Timmons. You decide. It was over the plate. Might have been low. Scoreboard on the bottom of your screen, brought to you by Chrysler, imported from Detroit. Toronto 1-0 over Baltimore. Cleveland 1-0 over Chicago, top of the third. Waiting on Houston against Texas, KC and Seattle. Boston's pretty much clinched things, but they still have to do some winning to hold off the A's for the best record in the American League. Matt Joyce led off the game with a home run. He leads off the third.
Hit the third pitch of the game into the lower stands in right.
Had his first major league home run against the Yankees. May 5th, 2008. He hit it off of Darryl Rasner.
Russ has been doing his pitching in Japan. I don't know if he's still there, but he went over to Japan to pitch for several years. Japanese baseball.
It's rare to see a 3-spot on the board against Kuroda here at the stadium. 13 starts here, 7-2, 1.97 ERA coming in. And Joyce down looking. Having a polite conversation with Timmons.
Joyce out on strikes. Chris Stewart didn't like the call that ended the last inning for the Yankees. That was a little low. I thought Stewart had a beef as well.
Will Myers, of his 13 home runs, 3 have been hit here. Big trade by the Rays during the offseason, sending 2 very good pitchers to Kansas City, and a calculated move for both teams. James Shields and Wade Davis, and as part of the package that came over here, Will Myers, one of the top prospects in all of baseball. But the Royals said, listen, we're able to produce position players, but not pitchers. And although you hate to give up on Myers, and he's proven to be just what the Tampa Bay Rays needed, Kansas City is still in it on the Tuesday of the last week. It's not a good chance, but they've got a chance.
Myers has hit 3 home runs here in Yankee Stadium this year, including a grand slam. The last rookie as a visitor, the only rookie as a visitor to hit 4 home runs, was Reggie Jackson way back in 1968. Reggie hit 4 for the A's.
If you look at the wild card standings right now, the Rays lead the Indians. The Indians holding on, and they have the easiest schedule this week. The Rangers 1 game back, Royals 3 back, Yankees 4 back, and 5 behind the Rays in the loss column. And then the Orioles have just got swept by the Rays in 4 games. Rounded to short, backhanded by Ryan. Sets. He makes the difficult look fairly easy at shortstop.
Oh, you mentioned his glove is as advertised. Able to make all the plays, going to his left and his right. And you see straight over the top with the delivery, and that throw is going to hold the line. It's like a pitcher throwing a 4-seam fastball. Throw it right through the target if you can. Right on the money to Mark Reynolds. This is coming. Get your gloves out, folks. There's the play.
Here's David DeJesus, and he rips one right at Reynolds for the final out. So after the first 3 batters got hits, 9 in a row retired by Kuroda, we go to the bottom of the 3rd. The Rays, well, it continues with playoff implications on the line. Coverage starts at 6 with Audi batting practice today. The Tri-State 4 pregame is going to be only on Yes. All right, we go to the bottom of the third. It's 3-0 Rays, and Ichiro Suzuki will lead off. Just got a cheer from the crowd as they put on the scoreboard, and Paul Olden announced that the Mariano Rivera bobbleheads have arrived. Today is Mariano Rivera bobblehead night at the stadium, and there was a large crowd outside the stadium. They didn't want to open the gates because the bobbleheads had not arrived. So then the Yankees just handed out vouchers for the bobbleheads and said that when we get them, you'll get them. And now they told the fans where they could pick them up before they leave the game.
Bobbleheads to be handed out later.
Yep. Very orderly, but boy, it was jammed outside each gate at the stadium as people patiently waited. Babe Ruth Plaza was just packed. And now they know they will get the bobbleheads. They'll just get on the way out. It's just strange because Mariano's used to getting here in the 9th inning.
Exactly.
He never starts a game.
You know, every save is like a parting gift, wasn't it?
So Ichiro's worked it to 3-2. Now Mariano did pitch on his day yesterday, or Saturday. Yesterday was an off day. Sunday was his day. I'm sorry. That one is punched to left field. It's a base hit for Ichiro. And what really impressed me, Kenny, is that, I'm sure you've seen it too, starting pitchers, you can't talk to them day of game. Now, David Cohn wanted to talk, but most starting pitchers couldn't talk day of game. Roger Clemens, you couldn't talk the day before the game. Mariano Rivera was honored, had his number retired, had to give a speech, and then came in and gave the Yankees 1 2/3 innings of scoreless relief. That was amazing.
David Cohn still wants to talk.
He likes to talk, yes. Runner on first, nobody out, and here is A-Rod.
By the way, it was the Yankees' first hit. He's amazing with the bat. It's like a wand. It's like an emergent. It's like his Z swing. And it still produces hits.
He's got 25 better ones. The 0-1. 1-1. Nothing Rays. We're in the bottom of the third inning. Along with Ken Singleton, I'm Michael Kay. You're watching the Yankees here on My 9. The 2-1. Popped up. And out of play. You know, one more note about Mo on Sunday. He came in the 8th inning in a game that the Yankees were trailing. And if you found that unusual, you're correct. It was only the second time since he became the closer in 1997 that he came in the 8th inning with the Yankees trailing in a regular season game at home. Chasing Ichiro back.
The last foul ball by Alex Rodriguez, you can see the effect of a good changeup and why, if you're a youngster out there pitching, I know a lot of youngsters start pitching when they're 9, 10, 11. Stay away from the breaking balls. Learn the changeup to go with your fastball. And the effect is, A-Rod was late on the fastball and too early on the change. So you get a hitter in between, and if you can really sell your changeup and make it look like it's a fastball coming out of your hand, you'll get some easy outs. Matt Moore has a good one. I mentioned that. Jeremy Hellickson has a very good one. The key is about 10 miles per hour difference. That's what you need. 10 to 12, maybe 15. But make it look like a fastball coming out of your hand.
And A-Rod works a walk for the second time tonight. So the Yankees with runners on first and second and nobody out. That's going to bring up a Robinson Cano and bring out Jim Hickey to talk with Matt Moore. So with Cano coming up, we'll take a look at the league leaders brought to you by Jaguar. See the model year lineup at JaguarUSA.com. Miguel Cabrera, who's been playing hurt and really has taken his production numbers down, still leading the league by plenty at 350. Trout at 325. Mauer right behind him. Then Beltre and Cano is fifth with a 313 average.
Yeah, Mauer's out for the season with a concussion symptoms, and the All-Star catch for Minnesota. They had problems with that with Justin Morneau, who eventually went to Pittsburgh. Now Moore's only given up one hit, but he's walked 4, and that's got his pitch count up to 49 here in the third inning. So the Yankees have been kind of patient, although they really haven't stung the ball against Matt Moore as of yet.
So the Yankees one big swing by Cano away from tying the game. There's somebody who picked up the Mo bobblehead.
Look out. Oof. Robbie just looked like he waited to the last second and said, this isn't going to hit me because I'm going to move my right shoulder and my head.
Count 1-1.
Cano did not reach 100 runs batted in last year. I think he had 94. But this year over the 100 mark because he's hit much better with runners in scoring position. 350.
Fly ball, right center. Ball makes the catch. Tagging is Ichiro. He'll make it to third.
Change up off the end of the bat. Didn't quite drive it.
Shift is on for Soriano. 3 infielders on the left side. Whole right side open with Loney holding A-Rod on. 1-0. Double-barreled action. Odorizzi and Gomes.
Lobaton has to scramble again. Almost another wild pitch. Who was it who said the other day that Mo's never thrown a ball in the dirt?
I had read it in the SI story. Never bounced a pitch.
And Moore has 7 straight games with a wild pitch. Mackey checking on the progress of the bullpen and the warm-ups out there.
Pitch is high, and the bases are loaded for Mark Reynolds.
Now remember that Matt Moore is off the disabled list with elbow problems, and I don't know how far they'll let him paint himself into a corner here. That's his 5th walk.
MLB.TV celebrating 11 years. Join the millions of fans and subscribe today. Watch every out-of-market game live online on your favorite mobile and connected devices in HD quality with MLB.TV Premium. Visit MLB.TV today. MLB.TV, baseball everywhere.
And Joe Maddon's on the top step.
Reynolds struck out in the first inning. Now he comes up, the bases loaded. And that one gets away from Lobaton, but the runners stay put. And they're saying it's a strike as Reynolds went around.
Yeah, there was an appeal to first base umpire Mike Winters, who said he did swing at it. And Lobaton might have gotten shaken up a bit on this, right off the elbow. Breaking ball in the dirt, reverse spin off the right elbow. Runner does not come. You want to make sure the ball's almost in the dugout if you're going to try and score when you're down by 3 runs. If you're a pitcher and you look over at the dugout and your manager's on the top step, it tells you better get your act together. You got the bases loaded and 1 out. He's 1 foot out of the dugout almost.
Count 0-2. Popped up. Myers makes the catch, tagging Ichiro, but the throw is cut off as Ichiro holds at third. Not deep enough.
Reynolds with the out is now 3 for his last 30. And despite the fact that Moore has kind of struggled with his control, he's made some pitches when he's had to. He got that fastball in on Mark Reynolds. Couldn't get extended. And a fly ball to short right. He's not out of the woods yet, though.
Here's Eduardo Nunez. Nunez got the big hit in the 8th inning that looked as if it was going to tie the game, but Cano got thrown out at home for the final out of that inning. That was the inning the Yankees had 2nd and 3rd, nobody out, and didn't get a run. But Nunez did come through when he had to. Let's see if he comes through here. See the breakdown of pitches. 60 so far, 23 this inning. One and one. Line drive.
Fastball he took for a strike, out in front of a changeup. Fastball was 90-91, changeup 83. Full foul.
Ichiro's at third, A-Rod's at second, and Soriano is at first. 2 men out, 1-2 count, and bottom of the third, Yankees down 3-0. Fouled away.
Out in front of a changeup, late on a fastball, caught in between. Can't emphasize enough the fact of having a good changeup as a pitcher. Just think of all the very good pitchers over the years, and even some that weren't so good that had the good changeups, kept them in baseball.
Hit sharply to third, knocked down by Longoria. Goes to second to get the force, and that will do it. No runs a hit, no errors, and the bases are left loaded. We're going to the fourth, 3-0. Tampa Bay. Cars, trucks, SUVs, and crossovers. Call ** Ford NY from your mobile device. The question: what former Yankees pitcher holds the Rays franchise record for most losses in a season? We will find that out soon enough.
That must have been when they were the Devil Rays.
3-0. Rays. Longoria leads off against Kuroda. Kuroda with another rough first inning tonight. His first inning ERA is 3.91. And his overall ERA is 3.26. His first inning ERA is 5.91, I'm sorry. And his overall is 3.26. So, more than 2.5 runs a game more.
He lived up to the billing. Home run, single, double, sack, fly in the first.
Oh, what a play by Nunez. Gets to his feet, fires, but the throw gets by Mark Reynolds as Longoria advances to second. As Kenny always says, two-part play. The first part, a sparkler.
Yeah, the first part was really difficult, and the second part should have been a little easier because he had plenty of time. This ball took an erratic hop, and he still gloves it. But here comes the second part of the play, and it's right in front of Mark Reynolds. Skips on the grass, gets by him, and it's going to be an E5. You almost hate to say it. On the play, it looked like he robbed Longoria of at least a two-base hit.
Kenny, is it straight E5? It's not a hit E5?
Is that, did they say? I think they just called it an error.
That's tough.
Yeah, it is.
I guess the thinking is
Two-base
he
error.
made the play, so that was the difficult part. Have to make the throw. So a two-base error. And that'll bring up Zobrist. Bounced up there.
Ooh.
Got a piece of Stewart.
I don't know if it hit him on the bare hand, but he's walking this one off. And you can see Tim Timmons walking the ball out to Kuroda. Watch the bare hand. Now, the bare hand is not in sight. Here it comes. Ooh, looked like it hit him maybe right on the thumb. And that could not have felt good. And Joe Girardi certainly could sympathize, being a former catcher himself. Take one more look. Here it is. Smoked off the bat of Longoria. He thinks this is a two-base hit. Not only was diving, he had to reach up as the ball took that funny hop. And then he short arms it over to first base, and Reynolds couldn't handle it. That's a tough throw to handle.
Now there's an issue with Kuroda as Littlefield and Girardi go out and check with him. But he waves them off.
Spikes that one in the dirt. You can see the bare hand coming up from Stewart. He does maintain the ability to keep the ball in front of him.
Longoria leads off second. Nobody out. Fourth inning. The 2-0 way high. 3-0. First part of the season, you could make a compelling argument that Kuroda was in the top 5 Cy Young voting if they took the vote right then. But the bottom has fallen out of his game.
There's a lot of people felt he should have been on the All-Star team. I did too, the way he performed in the first half of the season. And at one time was leading the league in earned run average.
The most dependable starter in the first half. Mike Harkey getting a call from the dugout. They'll get somebody warming in a moment. 3-1. Grounded to Cano. That'll move Longoria over to third with one out.
And it'll probably force the Yankees to bring the infield in once again. Trying to hold Longoria third with one out.
I'm going to bring up Loney, and Loney, they rolled the dice on him. They paid a lot of money to Carlos Pena for a year, and he couldn't do it. Struck out a lot, hit him under 200. They took a chance on Loney, a free agent who was actually part of the big Dodger Red Sox deal. And boy, he has lived up to everything they could possibly have wanted.
He's always been a pretty good fielder at first base, but close to a 300 hitter.
So the infield in for the Yanks.
He's also the league's leading hitter on the road away from Tropicana Field. He's hitting 350.
Adam Warren and Cesar Cabral for the Yanks. Grounded and grabbed there by Nunez. Checks the runner back and gets the out at first. Another nice play.
Well, we saw Nunez diving to his right. This time he's going to dive to his left. Snags this one. He's going to take a glance at Longoria at third. I put you there, stay there. Now there's the throw over the first for the out. This looked like it was going to get through. But Nunez makes the play. There's the check of the runner. And now the throw.
2 outs. Yankee infield backs up. Here's Lobaton.
Lobaton shares the duties with Jose Molina. This is Lobaton's 73rd start of the year.
Two and 0. The pitch.
Lobaton's a switch hitter, so Joe Madden really doesn't have to go with all the matchups, whether it's a lefty or righty pitching, when he decides to start Lobaton or Molina. And one thing about Lobaton, he's hitting 257 right-handed, 258 left-handed, so he's about the same for both sides.
Popped up. Left field. Soriano is there, and he makes the play. So they pick up Nunez with his 2-base error. No runs, no hits, 1 error, and 1 man left. Let's go to the bottom of the 4th. 3-0. What former Yankees pitcher holds the Rays franchise record for most losses in a season?
Oof.
Not sure, but let's see. Wow. Tangen Sturtz did a good job for the Yankees out of the bullpen.
I think in those days, back in 2002, he was starting for the Devil Rays. And that's how he piled up losses. You're right. He was solid out of the bullpen for the Yankees.
Never, ever turned down the chance to pitch, and he was in a lot of pain at some points because they used him a lot, and he was asked afterward where he hurt his arm, why didn't you ever say no? He said, my job is to pitch. Just an old school sort of guy. Here's Vernon Wells as we go to the bottom of the 4th. Matt Moore's still in there. It's 3-0 Tampa Bay. Yankees with just 1 hit, a single by Ichiro. But the Yankees have had their opportunities. They left 2 on in the 1st. They left 1 on in the 2nd. And they left the bases loaded in the 3rd. Oh, 0-2.
Got a semi-shift on with Wells at the plate. Second baseman Zobrist not quite on the left field side of second.
No shift for that, but a foul ball. And the 0-2. Foul away. Wells, Ryan, and Stewart here against Moore. Houston has jumped out to a 1-0 lead over Texas, top of the second. Baltimore 2-1 over Toronto, bottom of the fifth. KC Seattle, that's 10-10 start on the West Coast. And the White Sox and the Indians 1-1, top of the fifth inning. So all games of note in this wild card chase in the American League.
The Cleveland game, it's Ubaldo Jimenez pitching. He's had a pretty good second half for Cleveland. He's in there against Hector Santiago for the White Sox.
Swung and missed. The ball gets by Lobato, and Wells will reach on the strikeout wild pitch. Come out to Yankee Stadium tomorrow for a special giveaway when the Yankees take on the Rays. The first 18,000 guests in attendance are going to receive a Yankees Charlie Brown bobblehead, courtesy of MetLife. For tickets, log on to Yankees.com. Visit the Yankee Stadium ticket window, Yankees clubhouse shops, or you can call Ticketmaster at 877-469-9849. Your buddy's coming. And there's the Mariano bobblehead. Enjoying a glass of wine. Here's Brendan Ryan. Count 1-0.
Yet another wild pitch from Matt Moore on the strikeout to Vernon Wells. He's kept Lobaton busy behind the plate tonight.
Two and 0.
Might be going for that bullpen phone again soon if Moore continues to struggle with his control here. 5 walks, 3 wild pitches, and it's still leading 3-0.
Now 2-2.
Matt Moore's a native of Florida, Fort Walton Beach. That's where he was born. Pitching for the Tampa Bay Rays.
And the count now full at 3-2. Remember, bottom of the order here.
Counter in the left hand at pitch counter. 75 pitches for Moore here in the 4th inning.
Check swing. Did he go? Yes, he did. So Ryan down on strikes. He thought he checked the swing.
Tim Timmons called this on his own. There was no help involved.
Oh,
yeah, he did go around. He helps Matt Moore out. That would have been ball 4.
Pitch outside to Stewart. Foul back here. Uses a lot of pitches. He's not a young pitcher who's just throwing hard up there. Kenny mentioned features a changeup. Use the breaking ball. He's really pitching. Late swing, just a spoiler there.
Lobaton takes another shot. This one off the knee, and it's been a rough night. So Stewart take a foul ball off the, or take a pitch off the hand. Now watch this one. Those shin guards can only do so much. Did you ever catch Michael?
Colds.
I did it about a week in the police athletic league. After about that, I said, it's not for me.
Well, they don't need the big star hitter wearing down behind the plate.
It was police athletic league. I was 11 years old. How do you wear down when you're 11?
You had a future. They knew.
They didn't know it then. That's when you're in your formative years. You're trying to figure out what position you like best.
And it wasn't catcher.
No, it wasn't. After about a week, I said, no, this isn't it. Oh, but don't test it again.
Another spoil swing. He's about to throw his 20th pitch of the inning. Stewart making him work.
Upstairs with the fastball fouled off. 84 pitches. Man. They're trying to get him through 5 innings, or at least has a chance for a win.
Rounded foul. really feel for the ball boy down the line. I mean, you field the ball, and then you have to make this decision. Everybody has their hand out. You're gonna disappoint all these people but one, and you have to play this role. It's awful. Too much responsibility.
Yeah.
I couldn't handle the pressure. The 2-2. Foul away.
It's like being the king, knighting one of your knights.
Right.
Yeah.
Watch. Okay, who gets it?
Oh, he put a little trick on it. Put a move on somebody.
I mean, obviously you'd want to give it to a kid, but if there's like 6, 7 little kids with their hands out, you're going to break hearts. Two. 3-2.
It makes you wonder how, Mother Bird comes to nest with that one worm.
Right.
And all those little, chicks with their. Which one do you give it to?
The skinniest chick. One who needs it the most. The 3-2. Longest at bat of all time.
Lobato takes one off the mask. He's taking one off the knee. A few pitches in the dirt. See, this is why it took only a week for me to stop catching.
This will be the 13th pitch of the at-bat. And he walked him, so Stewart wins the battle.
Walk number 6. Walk to the phone.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the New York Yankees and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the New York Yankees.
Longest at bat ever.
Foul away. First and second, one man out. 3 runs on 3 hits for the Rays. Yankees have just 1 hit in this game. 1 out here in the bottom of the 4th, and that hit was from Ichiro. Served one into left field. That one grounded to first. Loney goes to second, 1, and that is all they'll get. As Wells moves to third.
Yeah, I doubt if they would have gotten 2, but it was kind of a low throw from Loney over to Escobar in short. Gets rid of it quickly, steps on the bag. There's the force on Stewart. They wouldn't have gotten Ichiro on a double play.
So now a big spot for A-Rod. Center field. Fold is there. And he puts it away for the final out of the inning. Another wasted opportunity for the Yankees. No runs, no hits. 2 men left. We're going to the 5th. Tuesday nights belong to Bones. Wednesday nights, New York's toughest detectives. They're in charge on Law and Order, Criminal Intent. And Saturday nights, the doctor is in on house. So don't miss back-to-back episodes of your favorite shows at 8 p.m. starting next week on My 9. We go to the fifth, and it's 3-0 Tampa Bay on the scoreboard, presented by Optimum. We're your TV, phone, and internet company. So another rough first inning for Kuroda, and he's shut it down since then. And he'll deal a fold, and he throws a strike to start the fifth. The only difference in this first inning than in the previous ones where he struggled, he didn't get his pitch count out of control. They did it quickly, early in the count, and then he settled down. And since the double by De Jesus in the first inning has allowed only one base runner on a throwing error by Eduardo Nunez, that was Longoria. Grounded to first. Reynolds is there. One out.
It's like his evil twin shows up to pitch the first inning every game. Then Kuroda takes him out for the rest of the ballgame.
Escobar taking a long time to come to the plate. I think they're setting up a pinch hitter. It's going to be Kelly Johnson. Taking forever.
It might have been a late call, depending on what was wrong with Escobar.
Johnson. Nobody, Kenny, nobody rushes Kelly Johnson. I mean, look at it. I mean, I've never seen people take so much time with gloves. Kuroda was not happy. All right, back here at the park. The pitch to Johnson is a strike. So Escobar had struck out in the second. I wonder if Escobar got hurt at second when he had to jump over Stewart. Looks like he might have landed a little awkwardly as Stewart clipped his foot on the Ichiro ground ball.
Take another look at Stewart. Yeah, he did get his foot up and over.
Johnson skies one deep to center. Ichiro back on the track, and he'll make the play. Time for This Day in Yankee History, brought to you in part by Hyundai. The amazing deals keep rolling in at the Hyundai Truckload of Savings event now through September 30th. On this date in 1978, Ron Guidry tosses his 9th shutout of the season. 4-0 win at Cleveland, and that sets a new Yankees franchise record. That was the year he went 25-3.
Yeah, he was dealing. I mean, every single time out, 25-3.
They added Mariano's 42 to the wall during the off day yesterday.
What was Gators' ERA that year?
1.78, I think.
Yeah.
Popped up. Ryan and Nunez makes the call on the catch to retire Matt Joyce. So the Rays go down in order. We're halfway through. It's 3-0 Tampa Bay. Every weeknight on the Big Bang Theory. They may be smart, but comedy like this is just plain genius. The Big Bang Theory, weeknights at 7:30 here on My 9. You ever watch that show, Kenny?
It's a great show.
Phenomenal.
Very funny.
By the way, I was off by .04. Guidry's ERA was 1.74, not 1.78. Kelly Johnson will take over at second. And Zobrist moves over to short with Escobar now out of the game. So Moore would like to get these 3 outs to qualify for his 16th win. And we'll have to face at the heart of the Yankee order. And the bullpen is up. You see the optimum scoreboard, 3-0 Tampa Bay. Cano, Soriano, and Reynolds. Cano first. Cano is 0 for 2. Popped up. Longoria makes the play. 1 pitch, 1 out.
You can't say the Yankees have not had their chances. They've left 8 men on in the first 4 innings. Even though they've had just 1 hit, and that was kind of a bloop single off the bat of Ichiro.
Strike on the outside corner to Soriano. Soriano's walked twice. On 2. And the pitch. 1-2. That one is looped over the head of Loney for a base hit for Soriano. Second hit for the Yanks.
Not a bad pitch by Matt Moore. Once again, he had a Yankee hitter kind of in between. Changeup, fastball, keeps hitters off balance. Soriano's going to get jammed. That's kind of a breaking ball. Loney up, but doesn't come down with it. Soriano had an 8-game hitting streak broken yesterday. Or I should say Sunday.
Have the big shift on for Reynolds. 3 infielders on the left side. Short fly ball to center. Fold comes in on the run to make the play for the second out.
Michael, would you say that Joe Maddon's the first manager to use all the shifts and maneuver his defense? He was one of the first ones to do it, if he was not the first.
I think he's definitely the one who's done it to an extreme.
Okay.
I mean, other people have shifted, but he really goes all out.
But you also notice that more teams are doing it now. It's almost like a copycat sort of thing. If it appears to work for one team, other team's going to do it. And I think that's the way with a lot of things in baseball. If one team had success with it, other team's going to try and copy it.
Nunez rockets one by Longoria for a base hit.
He's trying to get Moore a victory here. He's going to let him face Vernon Wells as a tying run with 2 outs here in the 5th inning.
Top of the 7th inning in Chicago, or in Cleveland, the White Sox won and the Indians won. Houston still leading Texas 1-0. Bottom of the 3rd. Baltimore 2, Toronto 1, bottom of the 6th. Pitch is high to Wells. Wells struck out in the 4th inning, but reached on a wild pitch on the 3rd strike.
Now Moore is over 100 pitches, 102 to be exact, season high 120.
Three and 0.
He hasn't helped himself much today.
They turn Wells loose. Late strike call to keep the at-bat alive.
That must have just caught a whisper in the outside corner. Tim Timmons thought it was high enough. He's been calling the low pitches tonight.
Foul back as the runners were going.
You get the feeling that this certainly is going to be Moore's last inning, one way or the other.
Runners go. High fly ball left field. De Jesus makes the play, and Moore gets out of trouble again. Yankees cannot get the big hit. No runs, 2 hits, and 2 left. Is brought to you in part by Chevrolet. Find new roads. Verizon Fios, making life more entertaining with America's fastest, most reliable internet. That's powerful. And by your Tri-Honda dealers. Tuesday night here in the Bronx, Yankees and the Rays. Pretty much a must-win for the Yankees. And still their chances are slight, but can't afford to be losing this game. They're down 3-0 as we head to the 6th inning. Will Myers swings and misses. Now, Myers, we said, called up on June 18th after they had traded for him in the offseason. And they called him up on June 18th, although he was ready earlier because of arbitration years. And not to get into too many boring statistics, but it's called Super Twos, and if you're called up after a certain time, they get another year before they have to deal with arbitration for you. And for a team like Tampa Bay, that means a lot. And if you're Tampa Bay, you hope it doesn't bite you, because since Myers was called up, the team is 51-36. And before he was called up, they were 36-33. So they just hope that if they could take him into the Super 2 category where they'd have him for 3 years before arbitration, which would save them millions, that it wouldn't cost them a spot in the playoffs, and it doesn't look like it did.
All right, let's put it this way. It doesn't look that way, but what if it did? How much, if they had made, you make more money as a club if you make the playoffs.
Absolutely. It's a gigantic gamble.
And since he's been called up, he's led the team in runs batted in.
As we move along this inning, out-of-town scoreboard brought to you by JetBlue, you above all. 2-1 Baltimore over Toronto, top of the 7th. Still 1-1 White Sox, Indians, top 7. Astros 1, Rangers nothing, top of the 4th inning. Kansas City and Seattle will start a little over an hour. Boston trailing Colorado. And Will Myers walks.
You know, the further that point, Michael, you're making, I know that the Rays traded for Myers, but there are certain teams that they have #1 draft picks, so they've already paid millions of dollars, and they still hold them back in the minor. You've already given them the money.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I mean? If he's going to help your team, bring him up. You're just trying to keep him from making more millions?
And saving yourself more millions. But you're right. If they didn't make the playoffs because they held Myers back, it probably cost the organization millions.
It is a tough call. I will admit that.
Count 1-1.
We were talking about DeJesus and trying to play postseason baseball for the first time in 11 major league seasons. He started the year with the Chicago Cubs. Remember years ago that movie Escape from New York?
Mm-hmm.
Escape from Chicago. That's a good movie.
Chicago's a good town.
Yeah, it is.
Not too many people want to escape that city.
Not when you're in last place, though.
Yep. One.
Both Chicago teams in last place. It hasn't been a fun baseball summer in the Windy City.
2-1. 3-1. Haven't seen this in a while. Boone Logan warming for the Yankees. High fly ball, shallow center. Ichiro coming on will make the play for the first out. There's Boone. Underwent a lot of tests to find out what was going on with his elbow. Bone spurs in there. Can pitch through it. Is going to have surgery to take care of the problem. And it's a tough time for him to have surgery as he's going to become a free agent.
You go back to spring training. He was having some issues in spring. Got sort of a late start. Spring training. Reading a note about Longoria today. Let's see if I can find it again. He's hit well against teams in the East, you know, teams that he sees the most. .301 against the Eastern teams and .227 against everybody else.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of unusual, but you know, you got to perform your best against teams in your own division. And he's got 42 extra base hits in 70 games against Eastern teams. And that includes the 7 home runs against the Yankees.
Just get word on Escobar. He left the game with a sore left ankle. So it was when he came down trying to get out of the way of the Stewart slide. Off the end of the bat, fly ball down the line. Long run for Soriano. And it's a fair ball, and it bounces into the seats. He could not get there. So bouncing into the seats, that keeps Myers at third. Longoria picks up a double.
It sounded like he broke his bat when he hit it just barely fair. It looked like the ball, the wall, and Soriano were coming at the same rate. Soriano can't quite get there. The ball hits in fair territory, bounces up into the seats, and it's a double for Longoria. Another extra base hit against an Eastern Division team.
So Zobrist is now going to be intentionally walked. And that loads the bases for Roney.
Zobrist with the easy way to first base, the intentional walk. He's the all-time Rays leader in base on balls. He can add another one.
Now, talked about how Longoria does well within his division. Kuroda does not this year.
Yeah.
He's 4-9 against the American League East. The last Yankee pitcher to lose double digits against the American League East, you have to go back to 1974. Doc Medich, who was the primary player that went to the Pittsburgh Pirates in the trade that brought Willie Randolph to the Yankees. And for you young fans, Doc Medich was a doctor.
I actually saw him save a man's life at a ball game.
You were there that day?
Yeah, in Baltimore. I think a gentleman had suffered a heart attack in the stands during batting practice. Doc ran off the field, ran up there, tended to him, got him to a hospital. Next time the Texas came into town, shook hands at home plate.
That's a good day at the ballpark for Doc Madge.
It was an off day for him as a pitcher, but you never have an off day as a doctor. You can help somebody.
One pitch away from forcing in a run. There's a strike. And the 3-1. 3-2. Loney is struck out in the first, grounded to third in the fourth.
Well, he's a contact type hitter. He's type of hitter. Kuroda might want up there trying to get him to hit a ground ball right at one of those infielders.
Into right center field, it's a base hit. Cutting it off is Ichiro. 2-run score. They'll hold up Zobrist at third. It's a 2-run double for Loney, and now it's 5-0 Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Loney, we told you, the best hitter in the American League as far as batting average on the road, over 350. And this is a solid line drive. But remember mentioning earlier this year, according to Fangraphs, he hits more line drives than any player. And this is a solid line drive to right center field. It's going to turn into his 29th double of the year, and he gets 2 more runs batted in.
Now Jose Molina is pinch hitting for Jose Lobaton. Now Kuroda is in the final year of his contract, and this could be the last time we see him on the mound at Yankee Stadium. We have no idea his plans for next year. We've heard different rumors. He might want to finish his career in Japan. Don't know if the Yankees would want him back after a rocky finish to this season. His wife and children live in LA, where he had been previously to this, playing for the Dodgers. So this would be his last start of the year here at Yankee Stadium. So we have no idea about his future. Certainly doesn't hold the same emotional tug as Andy Pettit and Mariano Rivera, but a hard worker and has done a good job for the Yankees in the years that he's here. Larry Rothschild finishes his conference on the mound.
Kuroda worked over 200 innings last year. He's gone over 200 again this year with this start tonight.
Well, this has been his big pitch inning so far. 25, only 1 out in, 92 overall.
I wonder if Lobaton is beaten up quite a bit tonight. That's why he's being pitch hit for.
Infield is in for Molina. You've got Zobrist at third and Loney on second. Second half of the season, we have not seen the command from Kuroda, and you wonder if that is a manifestation of fatigue. He's thrown a lot of innings in the last couple of years. You know, Kenny mentioned last year, a lot of innings, including 2 rounds of the playoffs. 2-0.
I think last year was his highest hitting total in his career in the United States.
31 starts this year in UC, 10-6 with a 2.38 sparkling ERA in his first 22 starts, and the bottom's just dropped out. Last night, he just hasn't been able to get it done. The 2-0. 3-0 to Molina.
Yeah, that one win came August 12th against the Angels here at Yankee Stadium.
And for a team that has been playing pennant race baseball essentially for a month and a half, the loss of their first or second best starter in terms of winning really set them back.
It's hard to get momentum going throughout the rotation.
He never had five guys give you a good start each time out. He's been their best pitcher in the last 2 months. 3-1. 3-2. Nothing Tampa Bay, the beginning of a 3-game set. He struck him out, came back from 3-0 to strike out Molina, the pinch hitter.
Molina now 0 for 3 this season as a pinch hitter. A little tight slider strikes him out.
Well, that's going to do it as Joe Girardi signals for Boone Logan. Don't know if Kuroda will get a start in Houston, but he departs here. This is his final start at the stadium. In Fios, making life more entertaining with America's fastest, most reliable internet. That's powerful. Boone Logan will take over. And those are the numbers for Boone. This is his 61st game. September 6th was the last time we saw him on the mound, and his elbow started barking.
Left elbow inflammation.
That's the line on Kuroda. And the runner is on base, his responsibility.
Joe Girardi goes to the lefty with a couple of lefty schedule. Remember we said Desmond Jennings out with a hamstring issue. He's the usual starting center fielder for the Rays.
The 0-2. Still 0-2.
Well, several ways that Logan can go. Of course, he's got that great sweeping breaking ball he uses on left-handed hitters. Maybe can tease full, one low and away, get himself out. Let's do it here. Yep. He just got a piece of it.
Cleveland now is taking a 3-2 lead over the White Sox, bottom of the seventh. Swing and a miss. Fold down on strikes, and he'll be tagged out by Stewart. So Logan does the job, and Kuroda's night is over. Behind the plate, a new battery for the Rays as the veteran Jamie Wright takes over. Jamie's had a good year, and a lot of the Rays are taking a lot of pride in the fact that if they get into the postseason, Jamie Wright, who's been around so long, 18 seasons, that his one major league home run came in Three Rivers Stadium, a ballpark that doesn't stand any longer, has never, ever made the playoffs.
Well, he's done some work this year. This is his 70th appearance. Here's Jose Molina taking over as the catcher. And Joe Madden stuck with Matt Moore, got him through 5 innings, despite the fact that he walked 6, threw over 100 pitches. And Matt Moore out of the game, but has a chance to pick up his 16th win.
Brendan Ryan leads off against Wright. 1-0. Bunted by Ryan. Foul ball.
Well, Jamie Wright, as Wright heads back to the batter's box, was actually signed as a minor league free agent back in January by the Rays with a invitation to spring training. And he's been around the block. Colorado, Milwaukee, St. Louis, Kansas City, Colorado again, San Francisco, Texas, Kansas City, Cleveland, Seattle, the Dodgers, and now Tampa Bay.
If he kept every uniform, he's got to have a walk-in closet.
How about every suitcase, traveling suitcase? Open up their luggage store.
Ryan fouls it back.
Of course, he began his career as a starter with the Rockies. But he hasn't had a start since 2006 with the Giants. He went 6-10 in 21 starts.
And breaking ball, Ryan down looking, one away.
Good curveball. The veteran Jamie Wright.
So the Yankees are going to send Granderson up to pinch hit for Stewart. You know, this is always a trap that sometimes we fall into and fans fall into. Because when you don't score, you look flat, you look disinterested. And the Yankees look so flat today, and you wonder if that crushing 2-1 loss on Sunday really served as the death blow. But, you know, again, if you don't score, you look like that. So it's hard to say what came first, the chicken or the egg. Are they flat and that's why they didn't score? Or they didn't score because they're flat?
You know, sometimes you can walk into a clubhouse before a game, you get a certain vibe, and you get a certain feel of how a team's been going. And we were talking about the ceremonies on Sunday. Whenever you walked in those clubhouses, you had the vibe that something special could happen today. You know, they usually had a good pitcher going. Team was hitting well, particularly with the runners in scoring. O'Neill was getting hits at the right time. Bernie Williams, Andy Pettis pitching big games. Andy had his escapability working. It's been a long season for the Yankees in more ways than one.
Fold makes the play to retire Granderson.
Good wood, but the big part of the ballpark for Granderson. every team has their share of injuries, but the Yankees have had more than their share this year, and you get to the point where it's hard to overcome all those issues. Somebody's out of the lineup, somebody's coming back. It's never really been intact all season long. I am pretty sure that Teixeira, Cano, Jeter, and A-Rod have not played one game together all season long. And as Joe Girardi's been saying all season long, somebody's got to step up. You got Gardner out now, who's leading the team and hitting with runners in scoring position. And when he got hurt, he was hot.
He got hurt that Friday in Boston, and Yankees ended up getting swept in Boston. And the thing that really hurt them, losing 2 out of 3 in Toronto, and having lost 2 out of 3 in Toronto a couple of weeks back. So a team that they had beaten up on, they couldn't take care of. But losing Gardner, that was their spark plug at the top of the lineup. They say that Jose Lobaton left the game with a bruised right elbow.
Is it a foul ball or a wild pitch in the dirt that hit him in the elbow?
1-2. Bose made his way down to the bullpen. Usually spends the first 5 innings either in the dugout or the clubhouse. The 1-2. Ground ball to second. And they just get Ichiro. Nice play by Johnson to end the 1-2-3 inning. So Wright comes on to retire the Yankees in order. Just got it there in time to beat the hustling Ichiro. We go to the 7th. We're brought to you by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most innovative lineup ever. Shop at choosenissan.com. Matt Joyce started the proceedings with a home run in the first inning, and the Rays have never trailed. 2 runs scored by Myers, a double and a run scored, and a ribby for David DeJesus. Same deal for Evan Longoria, 2 ribbies. when they intentionally walked Zobrist ahead of Loney. He picked up a 2-run double, and that's pretty much the offense for the Rays against Kuroda. Yankees have a new pitcher. It's Cesar Cabral, and they have a new catcher, J.R. Murphy. And Curtis Granderson takes over in center field, so Ichiro Suzuki's night is over. And Murphy will bat in Ichiro's spot in the lineup. It's 5-0 Tampa Bay on the scoreboard, brought to you by the New York Lottery. Hey, you never know. Count 2-0 to Kelly Johnson.
Now, Matt Joyce had been on deck, but Joe Madden has gone for a eventual pinch hitter. It's Delman Young.
Lofted into left center. And Granderson avoids Soriano to make the play and retire Johnson. So here's Delman Young to pinch hit for Joyce.
J.R. Murphy's going to go out and talk to Cabral, and I saw Joe Girardi lift the hat up towards the bullpen to see if the pitcher's ready. That's sort of the signal. That's Adam Warren warming up. And a manager will raise his hat, and then the bullpen coach will raise his hat to say, yeah, he's ready. So that a little bit quicker than the phone, and gave him a few more pitches to warm up, and he's going to come in and face Delman Young.
So Joe Girardi not going down without a fight. He's down 5-0 to the Rays, and he goes to the bullpen with Young due up. And he's going to face the pinch hitter Delman Young. So Cabral came on to get Kelly Johnson. And there's a lot of guys in the bullpen, so Girardi could try to use all of them as he and Madden will match wits here in the first game of this 3-game set. 32 games for Warren, 1 start. It's got a pretty decent season for the Yankees.
In his role, and every once in a while he's had to take on multiple inning games when the starter does not go very far, and he's done a very good job at that. Of course, sometimes when he's done that, he's out of commission for a couple of days. He has to rest after throwing 4 or 5 innings out of the bullpen.
Brett Marshall up.
That's a free clinic for the kids?
No, for the low plasma, less expensive. High class.
In our area?
They have more.
Young swings and misses. Released by Philadelphia, actually designated for assignment by the Phillies on August 9th. Signed a minor league contract with the Rays on August 22nd. And 16 games with the Rays since joining them. 9 for 38, 237. Foul back.
Young originally had been a draft pick of the Rays. And he went down to Durham.
Reynolds chases after it and does not make the catch. Tried a basket catch, got him on the heel, and then dropped down to the warning track.
Now watch him. He took a glance to see where he was, saw that he had the room, but he still didn't make the play. And he's going to be charged with an error for prolonging Delman Young's at bat. Yeah, that's a play that should have been made. And you can see the first base umpire, Mike Winters, coming over to make sure that there was no fan interference, and of course there wasn't.
And Warren gets him anyway as he strikes out Delman Young.
I think gives Warren a chance to pick up a strikeout. Put him away with a good tight slider.
Now some of these youngsters, they could be pitching in certain roles this year, and the Yankees would keep a close eye. How do we employ them next year? Is Warren a candidate for the starting rotation next year? Do they see him maybe as a guy who's good enough to be a short reliever rather than the long reliever he was this year? Setup man. Trade bait. They have a lot of decisions to make because there are a lot of people that will not be returning from this team. Free agents and the like. The 0-1. 1-1.
One thing since Warren has been around this year, I think his fastball's improved. It's been 94, 95 consistently.
Could that be a product of working out of the pen?
It could be, because that's an off-speed pitch. It could be because now he knows that maybe 2-3 innings at the max, as opposed when you're starting to pace yourself a little bit more. Maybe every once in a while reach back for a little extra when you need a strikeout with a man on base.
Scoreboard says 1-2, and you can hear Tim Timmons say, no, it's 2-1. Now it's 2-2. Strike three, and Myers down looking. So 2 strikeouts for Warren as he comes on in relief, and the Rays are retired in order by 2 Yankee pitchers at the end of 6.5. It's time for the 7th inning stretch here at the stadium. Tampa Bay 5, New York nothing, but we'll stay right where we are to honor America in New York.
Please direct your attention to the area behind home plate and welcome 3 honored guests of the New York Yankees. United States Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Sandy Kriegel, who served in the global war on terrorism. United States Marine Corps Sergeant Elsie Milan, who also served in the global war on terrorism. And United States Marine Corps Corporal Steve Bassie, who served in Operation Enduring Freedom. The Yankees say thank you for your sacrifice and service to our nation. Now please join in Kate Smith's rendition of God Bless America.
Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most innovative lineup ever. Shop at ChooseNissan.com. Not much there, everybody. Ichiro Suzuki served a single into left field. 2 walks for A-Rod. Alfonso Soriano picked up a single as well. And Eduardo Nunez with a single. And a couple of walks, one by Ryan, one by Stewart. Yankees have done very, very little. They had opportunities, just could not get it done. They had the bases loaded in the third, nothing. They left 2 runners on in the first. They left 2 runners on in the fourth, 2 runners on in the fifth. And now we go to the 7th inning, and Alex Rodriguez will lead it off.
He's going to face a new pitcher for the Rays. It's going to be Jake Odorizzi, who comes on. Odorizzi had made 22 starts at Durham this year, went 9-6. Pitched Friday against Baltimore. It was his second career appearance out of the bullpen in the big leagues.
And he deals to A-Rod. Last strike. One and one. Fly ball, center field. Sam Fuld will make the play.
2 walks and 2 flies to center for Alex.
Cano. Odorizzi came over in that deal with the Royals. Myers, Mike Montgomery, a lefty pitcher. Third baseman Patrick Leonard, and Odorizzi for James Shields, Wade Elliott, and a player to be named later that turned out to be infielder Elliott Johnson.
Nice compact motion, almost directly over the top with the fastball.
'2008 draft, first round draft pick by the Brewers, 32nd overall pick. And then the Royals got him for Yuniesky Betancourt, Zach Greinke. A lot of other players he got as well. Lorenzo Cain, Alcides Escobar, Jeremy Jeffress, and Odorizzi, who was a well thought of pitcher. 2-2. Indians were ready to nail down a victory in Cleveland, and Chris Perez, their closer, has given up 2 solo home runs to Viciedo and Alejandro Diaza. So now the White Sox lead 4-3, top of the 9th inning in Cleveland. And Perez was just taken out of the game with 2 outs. So every loss is so big. And, you know, that's why you could look at schedules, Kenny, and say, well, they have the easiest schedule.
Yeah.
Well, you never know what's going to happen on any given day in baseball. According to the pitching you get, so that's a big one. We'll see if they can come back in the bottom of the 9th. And Cano serves one into left center field. It's a base hit. Cut off in the gap by De Jesus. Cano will go to second, and he's in there with a double.
Good job by De Jesus to keep the ball from going to the wall, but it was deep enough in left center field for Cano to leg out a 2-base hit, his 39th double of the year. There's De Jesus stopping quickly, unloads. But Cano coming into your picture has a 2-base hit with 1 out. Another look. De Jesus was a center fielder when he first came to the big leagues, so he's got plenty of range. Michael, you said that the Royals got Alcides Escobar and Lorenzo Cain
in the Greinke deal, yeah.
I'll tell you what. Those guys, they're starters there.
They traded a pretty good pitcher.
Yeah, they did.
One and one.
See, but the deal is, if you look at it, Greinke's not pitching for Milwaukee anymore.
That's right.
And Cain and Escobar are making just about everyday contributions to a Royals team that seems to be on the rise.
The 1-2. Swing and a miss. Soriano down on strikes.
Odorizzi just blows this one right on by Soriano. Kind of ties him up and in. Good location on the pitch. You can see the congratulations from Jose Molina.
Kind of weird, Kenny, because he's throwing 91 miles an hour, but it's playing much faster.
He put it right where he wanted to. You were saying it's location.
Yep. So they'll send up Overbay to pinch hit for Reynolds. Yankees are down 5-0. to the Tampa Bay Rays. Odorizzi steps off.
Yeah, Overbay steps in, kind of struggling his last little while here. 1 for his last 21.
There was some thought that Odorizzi could start Friday for the Rays, but with Odorizzi being used here, they'll probably start Hellickson instead. And although they haven't clinched anything, Joe Madden thinking, how am I setting up for that one game? Obviously, that I would guess, Kenny, they'd want to set it up that David Price would pitch that one game. And that's why the wild card is such a disadvantage now over winning the division.
But that's the way it should be.
It should be.
Yeah.
And you're using your best pitcher. That means you're going into a 5-game series knowing you can only use your best pitcher once rather than twice. 1-2. Swung on and missed. A foul tip held on to by Molina, and that'll do it. So the double by Cano is wasted as a Yankee strand 1. We go to the 8th. .407. Yankees have a new first baseman. It's Lyle Overbay. Remember, he had pinch hit for Mark Reynolds and struck out to end the 7th inning. So Overbay takes over. Adam Warren, who came on to get the final 2 outs of the 7th with strikeouts, he's still in there as we go to the 8th inning. It'll be 3, 4, and 5 in the Rays order, starting with David DeJesus. RBI double in the 1st inning and a run scored, lined out to Reynolds at first in the 3rd, and a fly ball to center in the 6th. Born in Brooklyn, went to Rutgers. Probably his finest seasons with the Kansas City Royals. And looking to get to the playoffs. see as we move along. The out-of-town scoreboard brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. You know, one of those scores, Kenny, as that one is a fly ball to deep right. Backing up is Wells on the track. At the wall, he makes the play for the first out. It's a little bit of a smile for DeJesus, who just missed. One of those scores that we saw there, Boston and Colorado, as DeJesus went down to get a breaking ball and just missed driving it over the wall. And that's one of the things I don't like, Kenny, about interleague play every day, because nothing says pennant race baseball like Red Sox Rockies. But somebody's got to play a National League team, and the National League team has to play an American League team. But with 15 in each league, you're always going to have an interleague game.
Every series. It's going to be one series. I think the scheduling is getting a little smarter now, though, because next year when the Yankees go to Chicago, they'll actually be there for a few days because they'll play both the White Sox and the Cubs. And then the Giants, while they were here in New York,
played the
Mets and then the Yankees. It saves a little bit on travel.
And some very forward thinking by the schedule makers. Yankees finish the season in Houston and start next year in Houston. So if you want to hang in Houston over the winter, it also saves wear and tear. The 2-1. Right back up the middle. Cano is right there. But his throw pulls Overbay off the bag. So a base hit for Longoria. Well, after the final pitch, stay tuned for the Verizon Fios game wrap-up. We'll have a breakdown of tonight's action, plus news and more from the locker room. The Verizon Fios game wrap-up. Kenny and I are getting ready for it tonight on My 9, followed by Chasing New Jersey. Here's Ben Zobrist. So Longoria with his second hit. He's reached base 3 times and had a sac fly. Line drive, a base hit to right center.
You know, Houston's the 4th largest city in the country, so there's a lot to do there. We should be able to keep busy for a few months.
Sure. Not cold there.
No, not particularly.
Rockets could be good with Dwight Howard, so we'll have stuff to do.
Yeah.
Also on the Verizon Fios game wrap-up, Bob Lorenz, Jack Curry, and John Flaherty. Yeah. They're going to tell you everything that's going on in the wild card chase. So that's the show to watch right after the game. Here's Loney. Loney turned a 3-0 game into a 5-0 game with his 2-run double in the 6th. They had walked Zobrist intentionally ahead of him to load the bases. He didn't like that. Drove in 2. That was a strike.
We're going to look at Loney's swing and follow through on the 2-base hit. Squared that one up, didn't he? Right on the sweet spot.
One. Popped up, shallow left, coming on is Soriano, and he dives to make the play. For a moment there, I don't know if he knew he had it. That's a nice hand from the fans in left field.
Either that or he's trying to make Longoria stray from second base. Here it is. It is in the glove. Gonna lay out for all he's worth. Well, a good thing outfielders have those big gloves.
No, he didn't know he had it.
Didn't know he had it. I guess the glove is so big, didn't feel the baseball in there. There's Loney. That's one less hit for Loney.
And here is Molina. Swing and a miss. One and one with Warren on the mound. 2 outs, 2 on. We're in the 8th. 5-0 Tampa Bay.
It was 3-0 after 4 hitters.
You know, if the Yankees don't come back, well, you've got a losing record for Kuroda. That's assured because he would be 11-13. You've got a losing record for Phil Hughes. Right now, unless Andy wins on Friday, losing record for Andy Pettit. Ivan Nova and CC Sabathia, the only starters over 500. And, you know, when you consider that and all the injuries that the Yankees have had, the fact that it's a Tuesday of the last week of the season and they still have, you know, this very remote chance to make the playoffs shows that they have squeezed every last bit of juice out of the orange.
And plus, they're going to have a winning season. They're guaranteed to have a winning record.
Two. CC kind of hard on himself today when he said, you know, if I had given Kuroda more help, we'd be in the playoffs. But it doesn't read that way when you look at the stats. I mean, CC Sabathia did not pitch the way you expect him to pitch, but he does have a winning record, and 60% of your rotation doesn't. The 2-2. You certainly can't pin it all on the pitching because the offense has at times been quite anemic, like tonight.
The Yankees have been outscored this year.
Runners will go. The 3-2. Strike 3. Molina down looking. So that'll do it for the Rays. No runs, 2 hits, and 2 men left. We go to the bottom of the 8th. It's 5-0 Tampa Bay. deals on Ford cars, trucks, SUVs, and crossovers. Call ** Ford NY from your mobile device. Optimum, with your TV, phone, and internet company. And by Audi, truth in engineering. Well, it doesn't look like we'll see Mariano Rivera tonight, as the Yankees can come back here in the bottom of the 8th inning. We'll get another look for the 2nd inning at Jake Odorizzi. What a win for the Cleveland Indians, as Jason Giambi, the grizzled veteran, just hit a 2-run, 2-out walk-off home run for the Cleveland Indians. How about that? So Perez blows the game in the 9th, and Giambi with a pinch hit 2-run walk-off home run.
His 10th career walk-off homer.
You called one of them in the rain here against Minnesota.
Yeah, that's a grand slam.
That's right. Count 0-2. Giambi came very close to being named the manager of the Rockies, losing out to Walt Weiss. But in talking to Terry Francona about Giambi, said he is like a co-manager to me. He said, I've never, ever respected a player more in that room than Jason Giambi. And it's nice when somebody with that pull in the clubhouse could actually do something on the field.
You know, think about it. Before he just hit this ball's popped up. And Longoria makes the play for the out. Before he had just hit this walk-off tonight, they showed a highlight of one he had hit earlier in the year. And then hoping to reprise that role, and he did it.
Well, here's Vernon Wells. And a strike to Wells from Odorizzi. So the Giambi home run gives the Indians 5 straight wins. And I'm not sure of the mathematics of it, Kenny. But that win, and if the Yankees don't come back here, I'm not sure how the Yankees even would have a chance after tonight.
Yeah, that's... They say there's no clock in baseball, but the clock can be the schedule itself. You're running out of games.
Grounded right to second baseman Johnson. Let's see. I mean, mathematically, they're still alive, but the Indians are ahead of them. So that would give the Indians still 70 losses. If the Yankees lose this game, they'd have 75 losses. So the best they could do is tie the Indians. And if they lose this game, they would be eliminated from catching Tampa Bay, because they would be 6 games back in the loss column of Tampa Bay with just 5 games remaining. So the pulse is very, very faint. Ryan swings and misses. Very lackluster performance by the Yankees tonight through 7 2/3 innings. The offense not able to do anything against 3 Rays pitchers. That one was a fly ball to right field. Myers makes the play, and the Yankees go down in order. We're going to the 9th. Tampa Bay 5, the Yankees nothing, right here on My 9. Fios game wrap-up. We're going to have a breakdown of tonight's action, plus news and more from the locker room. It's the Verizon Fios game wrap-up tonight on My 9, followed by Chasing New Jersey. 2 outs away from history in St. Louis. Michael Wacha has a no-hitter against the Washington Nationals. St. Louis leads 2-0 in that game. And we'll have information on that on the Verizon Fios game wrap-up. And if we hear before the end of the game, we'll tell you as well.
Yeah, Sean Kelly and look out. Sam Fuld loses his bat. Matt, you okay? All right, buddy. Hang in there. Hold the fort.
The 0-2. And that was fouled off the foot of Fuld. Let's see Matt's reaction when a bat's coming right at him. So it completely abandons the camera. Good job, Matt. That's certainly one of those spots where you wish that Tad was there right there.
Really?
Matt, it's just that Tad has a better chance of getting hit. Five 5-0 Rays over the Yankees. We're in the top of the 9th inning. Two and two. Rays with 7 hits, the Yankees with 4, 2 errors by the Yankees. First game of a 3-game set. And Fuld works a walk to start off the 9th inning. Numbers on Sean. Started out with a very high ERA, brought it way down, then started having some arm issues, had to shut it down for a bit. Hasn't really been the same the last month. And there's a strike to Kelly Johnson. Well, the Cardinals are 1 out away from a no-hitter. It'll be Wacha against Zimmerman. Count 1 and 2.
Well, it's not going to be easy to get it. Zimmerman's one of the hottest hitters in baseball in the second half of the season.
The 2-2. Fouled away. All right, let's take a look. Let's go to St. Louis. 2 outs. 1 out away from a no-hitter. Zimmerman at the plate.
Oh, man.
What a way to lose a no-hitter. The 2-2. Then he gets taken out of the game.
His pitch count was probably up there, and the manager left him in there just to. Mike Matheny left him in there just for the purpose of trying to get the no-hit.
Swing and a tip into the glove of J.R. Murphy, so Johnson down on strikes.
What was the score in that game?
2-0. So.
That's another reason to take him out. With the letdown, you bring in a first pitcher.
So here's Delman Young, who would pinch hit for Matt Joyce in the 7th, and he struck out against Adam Warren. First batter that Warren faced. And a strike. One and two.
We were talking about Kelly, and his best pitch is the slider. Look for it here. Yep. He threw it, but not close enough to get Delman Young to go after it.
Two. Driven into center field. On his horse is Granderson. That's going to be over his head and off the wall. Fold rounds third. They're sending him home. The throw is cut off by Overbay. RBI double for Delman Young, and now it's 6-0 Rays.
That looked like a hanging slider that Delman Young got most of. And this is going to land right off the wall at straightaway center field. That one was up, out over the plate, got good extension. Granderson on his horse, and just about a foot away from being a home run. Gets the ball back in quickly, but not quickly enough to get folded home. He scores.
Will Myers grounds one foul. Two.
You mentioned that Myers had, since his recall, has been leading the Rays in runs batted in. It's going to be interesting to see who wins the Rookie of the Year in the American League this year, because there's not really what you would call a standout talent like Mike Trout was last year. There's, nobody has ever had a rookie year like Mike Trout had last year. Power, speed, defensive ability. Dylan Betances is warming up in the Yankees bullpen.
And there's strike three to Myers.
Maybe looking for the slider, but got the fastball, and he knew it. Just turns and heads back to the dugout.
So here's David DeJesus. RBI double in the first, lined out to first in the third, fly ball to center in the sixth, fly ball to the wall and right in the eighth. That ball off the glove of Murphy as Young goes to third.
And I'm looking at the rookie stats here, and Myers is up there in batting average, home runs. He leads in runs batted in. He's up there in multi-hit games, runs, hits, total bases, doubles. He's up there in just about everything. But there are other candidates. J.B. Shutt, Jose Iglesias. Who knows? We'll see how the writers vote.
They scored that a wild pitch, allowing Young to advance to third. So if you're keeping score at home, please stop. The 1-1. There's a strike. 1-2.
On the pitching side, you might want to look at the Rays' Chris Archer. Martin Perez pitching for the Rangers.
The 2-2. Ripped down the right field line. That's going to be a base hit. It's going to bounce into the corner. That'll score Delman Young. And David De Jesus picks up an RBI double. It's 7-0 Rays.
De Jesus, for him, it's his second run-scoring double of the game. That's going to be it for Sean Kelly. As the Rays tack on 2 more here in the 9th inning.
Well, we'll get a look at Dylan Betances. The kid from New York City. He'll come on to try to get the final out of the 9th. Hander, who had really good numbers once the Yankees converted him into a reliever, but he's only had 3 games of action here with the Yankees. He has 5 strikeouts in 2 innings, 6 hits he's allowed, 1 walk. Sometimes he loses the plate. When he throws strikes, he can be dominating. He's a tall right-hander who can get it up to 97, 98 miles an hour. Again, the problem, and you find this with young, tall pitchers, Kenny, it's hard for them to keep everything in sync and consistently throw strikes. But once he moved to the bullpen, he had an easier time doing that.
Oh, maybe because the fact he was able to not worry about repeating his delivery so often during the course of a ball game. Now he can just come in, rear back and fire for 1 inning or 2 at the max.
So here is Longoria against Betances, the Yankees' sixth pitcher tonight. There's the pitch up in the zone, 1-0.
Yeah, he's got to be an imposing figure on the mound. About 6'7", 6'8".
Well, the Yankees have to make a decision on Betances next year. Either he makes the big league club or they lose him. So they might have him battle for a spot in spring training, and if he doesn't, then try to execute a trade. But they are out of options with Dellin Betances. That one 95 miles an hour and it's fouled away. He is one of the highly touted at one point killer bees. Andrew Brackman no longer in the organization. Manny Banuelos had Tommy John surgery, out all year. And there's Dellin.
Banuelos is starting to work his way back. He's been throwing.
Fly ball as Granderson drifts back and he makes the play, so Betances gets the final out of the ninth. But the Rays scored 2 runs on 2 more hits, 2 left. We go to the bottom of the ninth, 7-0 Rays. Game, their tragic number is 1. They lose one more game, they are officially eliminated. For all intents and purposes, they are eliminated anyway. The way they have been playing over the last week or so, getting swept by Boston, losing 2 out of 3 to Toronto, losing that tough game on Sunday, and now this performance here tonight, not playing like a playoff caliber team. And we'll see what they could do here in the 9th inning. But if the first 8 innings any indication, I don't know if they have a rally in their bones. Now, last time the Yankees were shut out, despite having 6 walks, was June 23rd of 2009, a 4-0 loss at Atlanta. And what makes that game significant is Brian Cashman showed up for a visit on the road with his team after that performance. And following that visit, the Yankees won 65-27 and ended up winning the World Series.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Brian Cashman told them the guys in the room are going to get this done.
Girardi got thrown out of that game as well, if you remember.
I think Cervelli hit a home run that night.
Yep.
Yep.
And that was also the month of the emergence of Phil Hughes out of the bullpen. The 2-2. 3-2 on Granderson. Odorizzi trying to pick up the save here. If he pitches 3 scoreless innings, or even 3 innings of any sort of effective baseball, he can pick up a save no matter what the score. But he walks Granderson to start up the 9th inning. That's going to bring up J.R. Murphy, the rookie.
Just as you say that, Odorizzi has never had a big league save.
A-Rod on deck. And the 1-0 to J.R. Murphy. Most of the crowd here at the stadium has had enough. They are on their way home.
You were talking about the possibility of jobs, maybe Dylan Betances out of the bullpen. How about J.R. Murphy catching?
Possibility.
Yeah. I bet you gets a long look at spring training. $12 home runs in the minors this year. Hit around 270 and 2 stops. Double in AAA.
And a tip into the glove of Molina as Murphy down on strikes.
That is the 3rd strikeout for Odorizzi. And I'll tell you, the Rays, the organization developed some pitchers. Look at their staff. You got Moore, who started tonight, Hellickson, David Price, Alex Cobb, all of them out of their organization.
Grounded to 3rd. This could be it. There's 1, and there's 2, and there's the ball game as the Yankees lose this game by a score of 7-0. A 5-4-3 double play ends it, and the Rays are all smiles. And with the Indians' dramatic victory in Cleveland, 1 more loss and the Yankees will be eliminated from any postseason consideration. In the 9th, no runs, no hits, no errors, and because of the double play, nobody left on base. But we've got so much more to come here on My 9. We have awards to give out. We got a big post game with Bob Lorenz and John Flaherty and Jack Curry. Stick around. Tampa Bay 7, Yankees nothing.